Hello and welcome to today's video. I actually had the day off of work today. It was not because I'm sick. I am still sick. It was our floating holiday. Today's July 1st and it's 4th of July weekend. So I spent the entire day working on this. Well, not this. This is my AMC test box that I made a few years ago actually. I've built up a few of these that look exactly identical to this for some customers, but it takes a long time to, drill out all the holes, the labeling, cut out the connectors, do all the internal wiring, and yeah, I've had a lot of people asking for them, so I finally decided, you know what, I was just gonna go ahead and lay out a board, and that is what I worked on today. So here's my schematic. It should look very, very familiar if anybody's ever looked at the AMC manual, user's manual. It is exactly the same schematic. I'm using down here B is how I've wired this up, which happens to be identical to the UMOC. So it's wired up exactly the same. There are a few differences. Pin number 21 LED is motion on here, and I've pointed that out in videos before. And on here, that means battery full. They changed the definition of them, so I've made some notes on there too. Oh, and the other thing is, let me go to, I think it's up here, this page, here you go. On some of the UMOCs, they've all the AMCs are typically in the center. So you got regen on one side and throttle on the other. Some UMOCs, because they're software programmable, put the regen section here kind of in between, so it's not quite at the 50% point. I've made a note of that on the box, so on the graph, well, you'll see here in a second. Let's go back to the schematic. So, yeah, exactly the same schematic. So, yeah, I laid that out, and we ended up with this circuit board here. That's the top side. That's the bottom side. Oops, let me flip it here. So you can actually see Solectria AMC UMC Test Box, copyright, electronics, awesome. So, it's got ground floor on it. Looks like that, and if we go into 3D mode, ta-da! And this is to scale. I've got my D-sub here, and you can kind of line it up, right? So it's to scale, little pots are to scale, and everything. So that's the internal board. It doesn't do any of the label, so I've essentially made another board. This just does all the wiring, connects everything up. Excuse me. Yes. Yeah, this is just the internal one, connects all the wiring. This is where all the magic happens. I'll go ahead and do this. What I'm doing is using the weight of the test box to hold down the shift button so that I can put my mouse here and put that back there. There you go. And now I can move it around. So that's what the board looks like. You can see it's kind of floating, and I'm actually getting the wire wrap version because we want everything to be, I'll show you here in a second. Well, we want everything to be flush with the edges. So if you imagine a line drawn across here with another circuit board that will do all the labeling, so we want all that to be flush. This will have to be longer, obviously. So I'm getting the wire wrap version of this. I don't happen to have the 3D model. That I'm also getting these pots here are actually the model of the one I've got, but I'm getting the kind that have the pins coming down. They make one with longer pins that stick down, and you can kind of see the little holes there for them right there. And the only other difference was the push buttons on this box. They come in through the top. That won't work if they're soldered to here. It'd be impossible to take it apart. So they're kind of like these. They're a little bit smaller. I do actually have caps that go on them, but they're not drawn on the model, that are about the size of the LEDs, I believe, that go on top. So after they come through, then you can put the caps on them. And I've also got the knobs for these guys, which would be the same as these, because I got a bunch of these at the Hamvention. But yeah, that's pretty much what the board's going to look like. Let me get rid of this here and go back to normal view here. But this is what the top's going to look like, the face. So if I go into 3D mode, yeah, you can see I've got the little extra mark for 0%, and then the main 0% there. And then I've labeled the one motion instead of high, and UMOC. So like essentially UMOC means use that one, and yeah, it'll be fine. Although not every UMOC does that. So this is the bare minimum, so it's going to be somewhere in here. So you always want to take it back to here, somewhere in here, when you click it into forward, reverse, and then come up on this point slowly. If nothing happens, come up to that point slowly, and then you'll start accelerating. If you've watched some of my videos where I just, creep up the knob real slowly, it's because a lot of it'll just take off, and my motor's not bolted to the desk. It really should be, but learned from my mistakes. But anyways, that's what it will look like. So those the UMOC ones will be in just solder masked copper, and everything else is on silkscreen. But you got my nice little gauge and 100% and everything like that. This is also to scale. Like if I put my D-sub up there, you can see that it's pretty close. And if I put the old box up next to it, you can see they're roughly, it's kind of deceiving because this is about an inch thick. So yeah, it's not as big, I don't think. Well, maybe it is. If I line it up, if you line up the switches, they're roughly the same across. There's a 20 millimeter spacing between everything, which is the really close to the same spacing I did on this one. The only major difference is the connector's on the top here instead of coming out the side, and that's just to make it easier, so I don't have to go and cut out the box. I can just slap it on top. This is the box that I found. Actually, that's the hardest part, is finding one of these, is a box, because I needed the D-sub to fit in between these posts, because if it doesn't, then I got to shove this down, I got to shove everything down, and it ended up, I kept finding a lot of long, narrow boxes, but I finally was able to find one that is a Hammond manufacturing box. And let me go ahead and put this, I'll go in the 3D mode on the, or well, we're in 3D mode, but I'll move it around, you can see the box. I got it set to 50% transparency right now, so you can kind of see. And I've imported the other board, and I've turned off the warnings because you can see my LED leads are actually long enough to impact the inside of the box, so it was complaining, but it doesn't get cut off, obviously. But that's what it'll look like. It'll be about it's about an inch thick. This box actually has a lid that comes out like this, but I'm not even going to use the lid. I'm going to actually, I think that's actually the bottom. This is the top. So I'm using it kind of backwards, but I just kind of made my PCB, exactly follow the contours of the box. So it should fit on there pretty good, and I think it'll look nice. Cost, I don't know yet. I need to go cost the boards. That's going to be that's really the main high dollar item, is the boards. Although the wire wrap version of this connector that's long enough to get to the back there is like a $10 connector. Normal, like these, are like $1 or $2. So like a $10 connector. LEDs are free. I've got a bunch of them. The pots are like 50, well, actually they're almost $1 a piece. They're actually really nice. They're the ones, they're super smooth. There are, they use them in those audio consoles. Like, it's actually like a high-end audio pot. But yeah, anyways, they're really nice. I like them. They're very smooth. And then the switches are all about $2 a piece. So you can kind of do the math here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. It adds up pretty quick. But yeah, I think that's about it. The board is what's going to be super expensive, because this is 16 square inches just for this board, and most places do $5 a square inch. Typically is the rate. So that doesn't seem like that much, except when you got to order, you know. So it's like $80. You get 3 boards. But I still got to do that inner one too. So yeah, it's gonna be like $80 and then $60 and boards, and yeah, I don't know. I have to actually sit down and do costing on it and figure out what I'm gonna charge for them. But the more that people buy, the cheaper they get. So if you're interested in one, let me know. I guess this video is getting pretty long, but yeah. Anyways, we'll go back to 2D mode here. Yeah, thanks for watching.